IELTS map question, and we can see the two changes. It's like two islands, and we can see the change from one period to the next. What's interesting with this map is that we don't have a north, south, east, west, which we could have used to describe it. Neither do we have the date. So we've got to be not creative, but we do have to be careful. We cannot impose a north and a south because that's adding new information. It's like when we're describing a bar chart, we can't give reasons for the fall or for the increase. We can only explain what's in front of us, and we can only describe the changes and what we see. So when I was describing this, I made sure not to use north and south, east and west because they're not present on the map. And I tried to include everything on the map, everything that happened. So what happened? We can see that there's been a change. What type of change has there been? Well, there's been construction. What's another word for construction? Well, there's been a development. Okay, we can say development. The island has been developed. This is the kind of vocabulary that's going to help you score high. Also, the big changes are, we can see there's more buildings. And we can also see the disappearance of the trees. So let's jump into it. Also, we've got this footpath, vehicle track, pier, what looks like hotels. Again, it's probably not a good idea to make assumptions. So instead of saying these are hotels, which would be adding information, we just say it's accommodation or buildings or complexes. Okay, let's jump right into it. So the map shows an island in two different stages of development. The first image is prior to construction. The second image is afterwards. So immediately, the reader, in this case the IELTS examiner, knows exactly what we are writing about. Okay, and now can know what to expect, what can expect to be written. This is extremely useful. This is our introduction. It's like our topic sentence, but we know now what is happening on this island. Also, pay special attention because I do not go into any detail. I don't talk about the houses, the new houses. I don't talk about the sea or the beach, 100 meters. I could talk about it, but I decided to leave that for later because I couldn't think of an eloquent way to put it. So maybe I could have put this at the beginning, but it wasn't so essential to put the size of the islands. So both islands roughly measure 150 meters across and 100 meters from top to bottom. So here you can see that I had to use my own vocabulary across, okay, and from top to bottom. As you can guess, this was a very rough estimate. Perhaps looking again, maybe it's 200 meters, possibly. But I've covered myself. I said roughly. Also, as I said before, I had to say from top to bottom. I couldn't say from north to south because that's making an assumption that's adding new information, which is not a very accurate description. Now, I'll go into why I changed that in a second. I'll let you know. It's a very useful tip. Hopefully you've spotted the tip already, but I'll tell you about that in a second. So let's carry on. This remains the same over the period. Just got a bit, there we go. This remains the same over the period. So we're not only going to describe the changes, but it's useful to describe stuff that has maintained the same as well. Also, looking back now, perhaps I could have mentioned that the lake has also stayed the same. I think saying that the sea has stayed the same is probably going a bit overboard, but I could have mentioned it. Maybe I do later. Let's see. So the two islands have a small lake in the top right hand section. Yeah, I do. And a beach on the left hand side of the island. Once again, I'm not saying north and south, and I'm giving you a brief description of the similarities with both of them. That's roughly speaking the only similarities: the size, the lake, and the beach. And the beach here. I'm not going to say that there's a piece of sea here, because anybody with an ounce of intelligence know that the sea is going to be there on the left, on the right. It's going to be all around the island. So that's why I didn't mention it. So the first island is rather sparse with just 15 trees. What does sparse mean? Well, sparse means it's the opposite of full or busy. It's like empty. So I'm saying it's considerably empty with just 15 trees. It's just an observation, and it's not an opinion. It's rather sparse. You can see there. So rather sounds much better than very sparse. Okay, and that's optional. Okay, I could just say the first island has 15 trees, but that would maybe get me 6.5 or 7, but I want a band 9, so I'm going to say rather sparse. I'm going to show the examiner I know how to use more advanced constructions, and I've got a larger range of lexical resource using uncommon words, adjectives like sparse with just 15 trees. Also note, I'm writing the number. I'm not writing the word, I'm putting the number, the figures in there. And I do this throughout. I don't mix it. I don't write the word 22 and keeping it like this all the way through. It's uniform, and it's the correct way to do it. Okay, this is reduced further to just 4. So this is a very good construction, and it also helps with my coherence, because I'm saying here it's quite empty, and then I'm saying here it's even more empty. So this is a very good sentence. I'm not only noting the changes, but I'm doing it in a very eloquent way, I think, personally. And also you can see here more advanced structure. I can delete this because it's implied. I don't have to say trees again. It's already in the mind of the reader. And then I just finish with after the construction has started. So I'm using a tense here. I'm using the present perfect, and I used this because this is something that happened in the past and is true up to the present day and is still present. Okay, so this is useful tense here. Maybe I could have used had started. It's difficult to say because we don't have a time period on here, so I just have to make 1 or 2 assumptions. Next one, on the developed island. So this is what I was talking about before. I'm saying the developed island. This is my lexical resource, and it's quite clear now that there's a distinction. Okay, my new paragraph is directed completely to the new island. This shows a good organization. There are 22 new accommodation huts or houses. Okay, here once again I had to make the assumption that these are either huts or houses. To me they look like huts, and it goes well with the theme of an island. However, it's unclear, so I just put both. And 3 large new complexes, 1, 2, 3, located near the newly installed pier at the lower central point of the map. Once again, I can't say southern point. I don't know if it's the south, but that's obvious that it's the lower central. Maybe it's a bit left of the center, but we're getting into minutiae. We're getting into tiny details that are irrelevant. So yeah, and we can see as well that it's connected. You know, I'm talking about the accommodation, and I've basically listed all the new developments in one sentence. I didn't talk about a new house here at the beginning and then new houses here. No, I've just talked about the houses, most of them together. Then I'm talking about the other development in the next sentence. So this is my cohesion. A vehicle track leads from the pier and connects the 3 large buildings. Okay, so I'm not missing out information. These buildings are connected by footpaths to the small houses. Let's see. Yep. Also, I've got it clear. I'm guessing those are footpaths. It's not so clear. Yeah, those are footpaths quite clearly, the fainter. So yeah, I've mentioned this other new development about the map. Not about the map, sorry, about the footpaths. These buildings are connected by footpaths to the small houses. Okay? And now, while we're talking about small houses, I'm going to tell you how they're arranged. The majority of the houses are arranged in a circular fashion around a footpath. The houses on the left part of the island near the beach are arranged in a more standard pattern. I could have said rows, but that would have been a bit too much because it's not really a row, is it? It would be a row if there was like 2 rows of 3, but there's 1 row of 4, 1 row of 2. Maybe I could have gone into that if I were doing it again, but for me, I'm quite happy with that. It's a standard pattern. It's not circular. Boats are also now present on the new map of the island. Okay? Although it's not a big change as regards to the actual island, they are now on the map, and if I ignored them, then I'm not representing a complete description of the new image. A good way to assess your own task response with these maps, and also with the bar charts and the pie charts, is from this description, can you produce these maps? Could you draw it fairly accurately? And I think with these descriptions here, I think you would get a good idea. Maybe the shape of the island could be described. However, it's like, is that a detail that's absolutely fundamental? I don't think so. And also, maybe we could say there is a large cut out of the island. You see, I'm struggling, so I'm just going to avoid it, and I don't think it's entirely necessary. The main part is what's changed, is what's happened. And we can also make the assumption that the shape of the island has stayed the same. That's just using common sense. I mean, how many times does an island change shape? Okay, unless there's a volcanic reaction or a massive new airport built into the sea, then I would mention it, but that hasn't happened. Anyway, now you can see some of the, this underlined part here. I wanted to vary my vocabulary, so I didn't say buildings again. Once again, I wanted to vary my, I wanted to show off to the examiner I've got some good vocabulary, so I'm saying newly installed pier. Okay, I could say they've put a pier onto the base of the island maybe, but the newly installed pier, it shows that I can use some more vocabulary. Some more advanced vocabulary. Located is a good verb. To use, especially for these, because we're describing the origin, the place, and location. So get familiar with that word. Next one. So yeah, that's it. That's more or less it. And we can look at the band criteria now. So fully satisfies all the requirement of the task. So we've got a quick review of the test. Presents a clear overview of main trends, differences, and stages. Absolutely. Like I said, I think you could draw a fairly accurate idea of what has happened. If you just drew a description from this text, you'd probably get something similar to that. Okay? Did I mention the boats? Yeah, boats are also now present on the new map of the island. Maybe I could have mentioned that they are present near the pier, but once again, that's quite obvious. You know, more than likely you're going to find boats near a pier. clearly presents a fully developed response. Yes, everything has been fully developed there. Like I said, the shape of the island hasn't really changed. I mentioned all the differences there, and I think I did it rather eloquently and accurately as well. Let's see. So cohesion and coherence, or coherence and cohesion, sequences the information and ideas logically. Okay, this is also a part for band 9 as well, and the cohesive devices. So let's have a look at cohesive devices. What have we used? Let's see. So this remains the same. It's like I'm linking the two islands together, and I've done it in the same, let's see, I'm linking these two islands together, and I've said it remains the same. So I'm kind of connected these 2 points together. Okay, it's cohesive, it's together. Also here at the beginning, the first image is prior to construction, the second image is afterwards. So this is a useful device to say before and after. It's slightly more advanced as well than saying before and after. Also, I've used afterwards. What's the difference between after and afterwards? Well, afterwards is usually used to say it's like the complete finish. There's not going to be an after this. This is the final after. Okay? So here we've also used the newly installed peer. So you can get an idea of the change because these devices are working together and they're demonstrating the change. Now, not the most important thing, but two useful things actually. One, a skillful use of paragraphing. I find this quite straightforward. It's one paragraph for the first diagram, one paragraph for the second. Likewise, if you've got 2 pie charts, you're going to do the same. And because this is rather sparse, as I said, there's nothing much going on in the first one, I can mention a few changes. And because I'm talking about changes, because I'm talking about the trees here, okay, I'm saying it's sparse. I'm also going to just mention the change like I said, but I'm going to keep talking about the trees. Okay, even though this is just the paragraph is dedicated to this one, because I've mentioned the trees, I'm going to mention them again. Okay, and this also makes your sentence more cohesive. I'm mentioning the change, and it's all together in one sentence. So while we're talking about trees, I'm going to mention what's happened to the trees, because basically there wasn't much else to write about in this first paragraph. So I'll mention it. Now, the other cohesive point I wanted to mention was, look, we can see here I'm talking about accommodation. So I'm going to mention the new complexes, these new complexes in the same sentence. And then, because I mentioned about the complexes, I'm also going to mention the peer. Okay, so this is all together. And I don't talk about trees in this sentence. Also, because I'm talking about the peer, I'm going to talk about the vehicle track. So this is the cohesive devices that attract no attention. It's difficult to see it unless somebody actually points it out to you. And then because I'm talking about the peer, I talk about the vehicle track. Because I'm talking about the vehicle track, I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about the buildings and which are connected with the footpath. So this is why it's all related, and this is why it's a very cohesive sentence and a very cohesive paragraph. And it all makes sense. It's all very coherent. There's no mention about trees here. I did the trees. I mentioned them there. It's over and done with. Okay. Now, details. The majority of the houses are arranged in a circular fashion around a footpath. Once again, quite advanced and sophisticated vocabulary. The houses on the left part I mentioned before. Okay, both are also now present. So we said that before. The lexical resource, yeah, this is what I was talking about. It's uncommon lexical items. And there is no inaccuracies in word choice or collocation here, no errors, and there's no slips, and it's a very wide range. There isn't that much repetition, if any. So I'm using installed, located, developed. So yeah, I don't think you could get a wider range. And then for the grammatical range and accuracy, we do have a wide range of structures here with full flexibility and accuracy. Okay, there's no errors and there's no all the sentences are error-free, and like I said, there is a wide range of structures. Now, this is what I was going to mention before regarding structure. This first structure is what's called a negative construction, and this takes 4 words to say the same as this. Okay? It takes 3 words, does not change. And it's a negative construction. We can say the same, remains the same. Okay, actually, we're actually going to say the same with the same amount of words. However, with advanced writing, if we can keep the flow and avoid the negative constructions, then it's easier to read. It's a more advanced way of writing. This is what makes your writing flow. In task 2 on the online course, I teach students how to avoid these negative constructions by possibly using negative verbs. And this improves your writing considerably because it makes it flow. So as you can see as well, throughout the rest of the writing, there's not that many negative constructions. Okay, so yeah, that's more or less the description of the map. I hope you found it very useful. You can use the same structure for your writing as well. And if you liked this video, please press like or make a comment. And yeah, and if you're struggling and want to pass this exam soon, if you're in a hurry to pass it and maybe you failed a few times, go over to IELTSPodcast.com and you'll see the online course there. And it's great if you're in a hurry, and it's great if you need a guarantee to pass. Okay, my name is Ben Worthington, and thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.